Babur, born Ahir-ud-Din Muhammad, was a conqueror from Central Asia who, following a series of setbacks, finally succeeded in laying the basis for the Mughal dynasty in the Indian subcontinent and became the first Mughal emperor. He was a direct descendant of Turco-Mongol conqueror Timur from the Barlas clan, through his father, and also a descendant of Genghis Khan through his mother. He was also influenced by the Persian culture, and this affected both his own actions and those of his successors, giving rise to a significant expansion of the Persianate ethos in the Indian subcontinent. Though born as Zahir-ud-Din Muhammad Babur, he was commonly known as Babur. He was the eldest son of Umar Sheikh Mirza. He ascended the throne of Fergana in 1495 at the age of 12 and faced rebellion from his own relatives. He conquered Samarkand 2 years later, only to lose the city of Fergana soon after. In his attempt to reconquer it, he lost control of Samarkand. In 1501, his attempt to recapture both cities went in vain, as he was defeated by Muhammad Shaybani Khan. In 1504, he conquered Kabul, which was under the rule of the infant heir of Ulu Beg. Babur formed a partnership with Safavid ruler Ismail I and reconquered parts of Central Asia including Samarkand, only to lose again to the Uzbeks. After losing the city for the third time, Babur turned his attention to creating his empire in North India. At that time, Indo-Gangetic plain of northern Indian subcontinent was ruled by Ibrahim Lodi of the Afghan Lodi dynasty, whereas Rajputana was ruled by a Hindu Rajput confederacy, led by Rana Sanga of Mewar. In 1524, Daulat Khan Lodi, a rebel of the Lodi dynasty, invited Babur to overthrow Ibrahim and became ruler. Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi at the First Battle of Panipat in 1526 and so founded the Mughal Empire. However, he again had to face opposition, this time from Rana Sanga of Mewar, who considered Babur as a foreigner. The Rana was defeated at the Battle of Kanwa. Babur married several times. Notable among his sons are Humayun, Kamran Mirza and Hindul Mirza. He died in 1530 and was succeeded by Humayun. According to Babur's wishes, he was buried in Baghi Babur at Kabul in Afghanistan. Being a patrilineal descendant of Timur, Babur considered himself as a Timurid Turk, though Uzbek sources claim him as an ethnic Uzbek. He is considered a national hero in Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. Many of his poems also have become popular folk songs. He wrote his autobiography, Babur, in Chagatai-Turkic, and this was later translated to Persian during Akbar's reign. Name: Ahir-ud-Din is Arabic for defender of the faith of Islam, and Muhammad honors its prophet. The difficulty of pronouncing the name for his Central Asian Turco-Mongol army may have been responsible for the greater popularity of his nickname, Babur, also variously spelled Babur, Babar, and Babur. The name is generally taken in reference to the Persian Babr, meaning tiger. The word repeatedly appears in Ferdowsi's Shahnameh and was borrowed into the Turkic languages of Central Asia. Timur's name had undergone a similar evolution, with the Sanskrit Chimara becoming pronounced first *Cimr and then a Turkicized Timur, owing to the need to provide vocalic support between the M and R in Turkic languages. The choice of vowel would nominally be restricted to one of the four front vowels, hence Babr Babur, although the rule is routinely violated for words of Persian or Arabic derivation. Thaxton argues for an alternate derivation from the Pi word, beaver, pointing to similarities between the pronunciation Babur and the Russian Bobr. Babur bore the royal titles Badshah and al-Sultanu, el-Azamwar, el-Hakan al-Mukarram Padshah Ghazi. Background: Babur's memoirs form the main source for details of his life. They are known as the Babur and were written in Chagatai-Turkic, his mother tongue, though, according to Dale, his Turkic prose is highly Persianized in its sentence structure, morphology or word formation and vocabulary. Babur was translated into Persian during the rule of Babur's grandson Akbar. Babur was born on 14 February, OS. 1483 in the city of Andijan, Andijan province, Fergana Valley, contemporary Uzbekistan. He was the eldest son of Umar Sheikh Mirza, ruler of the Fergana Valley, the son of Abisarid Mirza and his wife Kwalunagar Khanum, daughter of Yunus Khan, the ruler of Mafulistan. Babur hailed from the Balas tribe, which was of Mongol origin and had embraced Turkic and Persian culture. He converted to Islam and resided in Turkestan and Khorasan. Aside from the Chagatai language, Babur was equally fluent in Persian, the lingua franca of the Timurid elite. Hence Babur, though nominally a Mongol, drew much of his support from the local Turkic and Iranian people of Central Asia, and his army was diverse in its ethnic makeup. It included Persians, ethnic Afghans, Arabs, as well as Balas and Chagatai Turco-Mongols from Central Asia. Rule in Central Asia. As ruler of Fergana in 1494, at 11 years old, Babur became the ruler of Fergana, in present-day Uzbekistan. After Umar Sheikh Mirza died, while tending pigeons in an ill-constructed dovecote that toppled into the ravine below the palace. During this time, two of his uncles from the neighboring kingdoms, who were hostile to his father, and a group of nobles who wanted his younger brother Jahangir to be the ruler, threatened his succession to the throne. His uncles were relentless in their attempts to dislodge him from this position as well as from many of his other territorial possessions to come. Babur was able to secure his throne mainly because of help from his maternal grandmother, Aisan Daulat Begum, although there was also some luck involved. Most territories around his kingdom were ruled by his relatives, who were descendants of either Timur or Genghis Khan, and were constantly in conflict. At that time, rival princes were fighting over the city of Samarkand to the west, which was ruled by his paternal cousin. Babur had a great ambition to capture it, and in 1497, he besieged Samarkand for 7 months before eventually gaining control over it. He was 15 years old, and for him, this campaign was a huge achievement. Babur was able to hold it despite desertions in his army but later fell seriously ill. Meanwhile, a rebellion amongst nobles who favored his brother, back home approximately 350 kilometers away, robbed him of Fergana. As he was marching to recover it, he lost the Samarkand to a rival prince, leaving him with neither Fergana nor Samarkand. He had held Samarkand for 100 days and he considered this defeat as his biggest loss, obsessing over it even later in his life after his conquests in India. In 1501, he laid siege on Samarkand once more, but was soon defeated by his most formidable rival, Muhammad Shaybani, Khan of the Uzbeks. Samarkand, his lifelong obsession, was lost again. He tried to reclaim Fergana but lost it too, and escaping with a small band of followers, he wandered to the mountains of Central Asia and took refuge with hill tribes. Thus, during the 10 years since becoming the ruler of Fergana, Babur suffered many short-lived victories and was without shelter and in exile. Aided by friends and peasants, he finally stayed in Tashkent, which was ruled by his maternal uncle. Babur wrote, "During my stay in Tashkent, I endured much poverty and humiliation. No country, or hope of one." For 3 years Babur concentrated on building up a strong army, recruiting widely amongst the Tajiks of Badakhshan in particular. By 1502, Babur had resigned all hopes of recovering Fergana. He was left with nothing and was forced to try his luck someplace else. At Kabul, Kabul was ruled by Ulugh Mirza of the Arghun dynasty, who died leaving only an infant as heir. The city was then claimed by Mukan Beg, who was considered to be a usurper, and was opposed by the local populace. In 1504, by using the whole situation to his own advantage, Babur was able to cross the snowy Hindu Kush mountains and capture Kabul. The remaining Arghunids were forced to retreat to Kandahar. With this move, he gained a new kingdom, re-established his fortunes and would remain its ruler until 1526. In 1505, because of the low revenue generated by his new mountain kingdom, Babur began his first expedition to India. In his memoirs, he wrote, "My desire for Hindustan had been constant. It was in the month of Shaban, the sun being in Aquarius, that we rode out of Kabul for Hindustan. It was a brief raid across the Khyber Pass." In the same year, Babur united with Sultan Hussain Mirza Bainurah of Herat, a fellow Timurid and distant relative, against their common enemy, the Uzbek Shaybani. However, this venture did not take place because Hussain Mirza died in 1506 and his two sons were reluctant to go to war. Babur instead stayed at Herat after being invited by the two Mirza brothers. It was then the cultural capital of the Eastern Muslim world. Though he was disgusted by the vices and luxuries of the city, he marveled at the intellectual abundance there, which he stated was filled with learned and matched men. He became acquainted with the work of the Chagatai poet Mir Ali Shah Nava'i, who encouraged the use of Chagatai as a literary language. Nava'i's proficiency with the language, which he is credited with founding, may have influenced Babur in his decision to use it for his memoirs. He spent 2 months there before being forced to leave because of diminishing resources. It later was overrun by Shaybani and the Mirzas fled. Babur became the only reigning ruler of the Timurid dynasty after the loss of Herat, and many princes sought refuge from him at Kabul because of Shaybani's invasion in the west. He thus assumed the title of Padshah among the Timurids, though this title was insignificant since most of his ancestral lands were taken. Kabul itself was in danger and Shaybani continued to be a threat. He prevailed during a potential rebellion in Kabul, but 2 years later a revolt among some of his leading generals drove him out of Kabul. Escaping with very few companions, Babur soon returned to the city, capturing Kabul again and regaining the allegiance of the rebels. Meanwhile, Shaybani was defeated and killed by Ismail I, Shah of Shia Safavid Persia, in 1510. Babur and the remaining Timurids used this opportunity to reconquer their ancestral territories. Over the following few years, Babur and Shah Ismail formed a partnership in an attempt to take over parts of Central Asia. In return for Ismail's assistance, Babur permitted the Safavids to act as a suzerain over him and his followers. Thus, in 1513, after leaving his brother Nazir Mirza to rule Kabul, he managed to get Samarkand for the 3rd time and Bukhara, but lost both again to the Uzbeks. Shah Ismail reunited Babur with his sister Khanzada, who had been imprisoned by and forced to marry the recently deceased Shaybani. He returned to Kabul after 3 years in 1514. The following 11 years of his rule mainly involved dealing with relatively insignificant rebellions from Afghan tribes, his nobles and relatives. In addition to conducting raids across the eastern mountains, Babur began to modernize and train his army despite it being, for him, relatively peaceful times. Foreign relations. Babur began relations with the Safavids when he met Ali Mirza Safavi at Samarkand. Their good relations lasted even after Babur was approached by the Ottomans. The Safavid army led by Najm Sani massacred civilians in Central Asia and then sought the assistance of Babur, who advised the Safavids to withdraw. The Safavids, however, refused and were defeated during the Battle of Ghazjuan by the warlord Ubaydullah Khan. Babur's early relations with the Ottomans were poor because the Ottoman Sultan Selim I provided his rival Ubaydullah Khan with powerful matchlocks and cannons. In 1507, when ordered to accept Selim I as his rightful suzerain, Babur refused, and gathered Qizilbash servicemen in order to counter the forces of Ubaydullah Khan during the Battle of Ghazjuan. In 1513, Selim I reconciled with Babur, dispatched Ustad Ali Kli the artilleryman and Mustafa Rumi, the matchlock marksman, and many other Ottoman Turks, in order to assist Babur in his conquests. This particular assistance proved to be the basis of future Mughal-Ottoman relations. from them. He also adopted the tactic of using matchlocks and cannons in field, which would give him an important advantage in India. Formation of the Mughal Empire. Babur still wanted to escape from the Uzbeks, and finally chose India as a refuge instead of Badakhshan, which was to the north of Kabul. He wrote, "In the presence of such power and potency, we had to think of some place for ourselves, and at this crisis and in the crack of time there was put a wider space between us and the strong foeman." After his third loss of Samarkand, Babur gave full attention on conquest of India, launching a campaign. He reached Chenab, now in Pakistan, in 1519. Until 1524, his aim was to only expand his rule to Punjab, mainly to fulfill his ancestor Timur's legacy, since it used to be part of his empire. At the time parts of North India was under the rule of Ibrahim Lodi of the Lodi dynasty, but the empire was crumbling and there were many defectors. He received invitations from Daulat Khan Lodi, governor of Punjab, and Alauddin, uncle of Ibrahim. He sent an ambassador to Ibrahim, claiming himself the rightful heir to the throne of the country. However, the ambassador was detained at Lahore and released months later. Babur started for Lahore, Punjab, in 1524 but found that Daulat Khan Lodi had been driven out by forces sent by Ibrahim Lodi. When Babur arrived at Lahore, the Lodi army marched out and his army was routed. In response, Babur burned Lahore for 2 days, then marched to Dipalpur, placing Alam Khan, another rebel uncle of Lodi's, as governor. Alam Khan was quickly overthrown and fled to Kabul. In response, Babur supplied Alam Khan with troops who later joined up with Daulat Khan Lodi, and together with about 30,000 troops, they besieged Ibrahim Lodi at Delhi. He easily defeated and drove off Alam's army, and Babur realized Lodi would not allow him to occupy the Punjab. First Battle of Panipat. Babur started his campaign in November 1525. He got news at Peshawar that Daulat Khan Lodi had switched sides and drove out Alauddin. Babur then marched on to Lahore to confront Daulat Khan Lodi, only to see Daulat's army melt away at their approach. Daulat surrendered and was pardoned. Thus, within 3 weeks of crossing the Indus River, Babur became the master of Punjab. Babur marched on to Delhi via Sirhind. He reached Panipat on the 20th of April 1526 and there met Ibrahim Lodi's numerically superior army of about 100,000 soldiers and 100 elephants. In the battle that began on the following day, Babur utilized the tactic of Tulugma, encircling Ibrahim Lodi's army and forcing it to face artillery fire directly, as well as frightening its war elephants. Ibrahim Lodi died during the battle, thus ending the Lodi dynasty. Babur wrote in his memoirs about his victory, "By the grace of the Almighty God, this difficult task was made easy to me, and that mighty army, in the space of half a day, was laid in dust." After the battle, Babur occupied Delhi and Agra, took the throne of Lodi, and laid the foundation for the eventual rise of Mughal rule in India. However, before he became India's ruler, he had to fend off challenges, such as Rana Sanga. Battle of Kanwa. The Battle of Kanwa was fought between Babur and the Rajput ruler Rana Sanga on the 17th of March 1527. Rana Sanga wanted to overthrow Babur, whom he considered to be a foreigner ruling in India, and also to extend the Rajput territories by annexing Delhi and Agra. He was supported by Afghan chiefs who felt Babur had been deceptive by refusing to fulfill promises made to them. Upon receiving news of Rana Sanga's advance towards Agra, Babur took a defensive position at Kanwa, from where he hoped to be able to launch a counterattack later. According to K.V. Krishna Rao, Babur won the battle because of his superior generalship and modern tactics. The battle was one of the first in India that featured cannons. Rao also notes that Rana Sanga faced treachery when a Saladi man converted to Islam and joined Babur's army with a garrison of 6,000 soldiers.